Booker T, Lewis Adams, and others.
Booker T. Booker T.
Oh, oh, it already started. Wow, I didn't know it had started. Good
Uh-huh.
morning, everybody. I apologize. I was talking to Leonard and didn't realize I had clicked the go live button, but for some reason, um, it didn't start when I did, so I thought I had done something wrong. So I apologize. Good morning. Happy Founders Day to Tuskegee University. You know, I will start off with something. The other day, um, one of my former coworkers put on Facebook. She said, you know, basically, as Black people, we shouldn't be celebrating the Fourth of July or something to that effect. And I said, well, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to a cookout or something like that. So basically, going to a cookout. And then I said, I'm celebrating the Founders Day of Tuskegee University. She came back and is like, I'm giving you the side eyes. Like, okay, did you not read what I said? Um, I'm celebrating Tuskegee's Founders Day, which is founded July 4th, 1881. The school was founded. Um, but I said brought that up because uh, people are so reactionary these days. They don't take time to read stuff if they see it or to understand what it's saying. They react to a headline or the first line or the initial things that people say and not to everything that they say in totality. Because we I guess we've been conditioned that to think that how am I going to say this? We've been conditioned to just uh not pay attention to stuff. And that's a part of I think of I won't say the total downfall of our society, but it's a part of what's causing so many problems in the United States and worldwide too. Um, Misunderstandings, not fully understanding what somebody is saying, not even taking the time to find out what they're saying or what they're talking about, just reacting. And I think that is something that is getting worse in our society because we have become a society of um, headline. We just react to headlines. We overreact to headlines. I tell my students all the time that stop, don't make a temporary issue a permanent problem because they just go off for no reason or something that's not even intended to hurt your feelings or demean you or dish you or anything like that. But you take it that way because we're conditioned to just react and overreact. And I think that's a big problem in our society, especially among our youth. And I guess this woman's in her 50s, so 40s or 50s, so I guess it's a part of our problem too. Um, but it bothered me, her reaction to what I said. And this is a very educated woman. It's not like she doesn't have education. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to bring that up real quick because I think that's something that we as a society need to start paying attention to and stop being so reactionary and overreacting to simple things. And what did you say? And off my what is that? Okay, Stacy, what does that mean? What is that? A cat? I can't see. What you see? What that emoji is that she did? What is that? Um, but that was one thing I wanted to talk about. That, but I also wanted to talk about Frederick
Boxing.
Douglass. What he said in reference to a speech he gave in 1852. Um, and the speech was called "What to the Slave is the Fourth of July," and it goes along with also the my former coworker said on my page, or what I react to, what I wrote on her page. In that speech, Frederick Douglass, and this was enslavement was still going on. Black people were still being enslaved here in the United States, and he drew the contrast. He said, "Why?" Basically, he was saying, "Why should we, my people, Black people, Negroes, people of African descent, uh, um, why should we celebrate the 4th of July?" And I'll say this: it is it's hard because I'm sure all of us who are listening, we grew up celebrating the 4th of July, celebrating the independence of this country. But Frederick Douglass, when he wrote this and when he gave the speech in 1852, he was saying that what do Black people have to celebrate? Why should we participate in the celebration when my people are still enslaved? Uh, uh, yeah, my people are still enslaved. My Black people who are free are still treated as not second class, not third class, but fourth class citizens in this country. Why should we celebrate that, the founding of this country, when the only people who were free, totally free, were white men and white men with property? The rest of us was left out. We were left out of that equation. When they said all men are created equal, and when Jefferson wrote that in the Declaration of Independence, he wasn't talking about us. Hell, he wasn't even talking about the only people he was talking about was referencing in that was white men of property, because they were the only ones who could vote. They were the only ones who could fully participate in this country. Everybody else was left out of the equation. So Douglass drew the contrast, saying, although it's a great thing that this country was founded, what does that mean to us? We're still enslaved. And even after enslavement ended in 1865, totally the war ended. Everybody knew that slavery was not legal in the United States. Black people were still oppressed. We were still oppressed. They had to come up with 3 amendments, as I call it, the Black Amendments, to even give us a modicum, a smidgen of freedom. 13th Amendment made it illegal to put somebody in bondage, ended enslavement in this country. But you flip it on the other side, on the 13th Amendment, that also gave rise to prison labor, where Black men and Black women were regularly arrested for minor violations, found guilty of those minor violations, and then ordered to go to a prison camp and work to pay off the fines. And in many cases, they never paid off the fine. So that didn't work in our favor for the most part. 14th Amendment. I've been talking about the 14th Amendment for the last few weeks and talking about birthright citizenship. They had to come up with something saying that anybody born here in the United States is a citizen. And Clarence Thomas talking about, no, they were only talking about Black people. They ain't talking about the rest of y'all. They're talking about Black people. Just those Black people who were enslaved. They're not talking about the rest of y'all. The rest of y'all who came in afterwards, nah, the 14th Amendment doesn't apply. This is a Black man stating that. The 14th Amendment does not apply to only apply to Black people who were enslaved. It does not apply to the rest of us or the rest of y'all. So the rest of y'all shouldn't be citizens. That's a Black man arguing that. 15th Amendment gave us all citizens the right to vote. Well, we all know that ever since the 15th Amendment gave us the right to vote, guess what? They've been trying to take the vote away from us. From poll taxes to Jim Crow laws to all kind of things to redistricting now to voter ID laws, all of that stuff. All of that stuff has been used to prevent us from voting, to stop us from voting, to diminish our voting power, to diminish our political voice. So again, I ask, what does 4th of July mean to Black people? What does it mean? That's what Frederick Douglass said in 1852. Well, that was what 160 years ago, 170 years ago, 174 years ago. He gave that speech on this day 174 years ago. What does the 4th of July mean to us? Leonard, your response, please. He's deep in thought, y'all.
No, I just don't. I don't. I don't. I think the 4th of July means to Black folks hot dogs, cookouts, um, social gatherings. And that's probably where it should stay. Um, I think for the time that we're in right now, uh, I tell you every time we have these conversations, I try to, I would like to speak from the perspective of where we are as a community and uh, what's going on nationally now that will have consequences for a long time, even probably till after we are no longer here. I think 62 years ago this week, uh, the 1965 Civil Rights Act was signed by Lyndon B. Johnson. Um, and I'm very much like Marion when I say I just don't see the urgency in the community. Matter of fact, if you really, really ask me, I think that a large part of African Americans, particularly those of us who are educated, um, have, for lack of a better word, they've either given up or they don't have the will or the courage, uh, because they've kind of taken a step back from the national conversation. And for some reason, they believe that other people in communities are going to look after their interests. And to me, that's just nuts. So, and crazy. I think that's some of the things that Stacey says a lot, which is I don't see the urgency. I see a lot of talking. People talk, 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 because there's so many things coming at us at once, which is what it's designed to do. But we don't even have yeah, you don't like saying this. We don't even have what I would say one thing in common that we seem to be able to rally around to say that no matter what, we are not going to let these things happen. This is the line in the sand, and then we'll stand and live and die on this line. And so when you start talking about the 4th, there's no there's no things that African Americans have done nationwide to signal to anybody that we're going to do anything about what has happened in the last 2 years. When we say voting, and I know a lot of organizations who are trying to get the vote out, but I don't see any sense of urgency on it. Sure, some people are going to say, "Well, it's going to gear up after August." I'm not confident in that. Just in the everyday conversations that I hear people having, hell, I don't even hear a whole bunch of my friends even talking about it. And to me, to me, it's all you should be talking about. To be quite frank with you, I don't. It's like the house is burning, and people are saying, "Oh, well, we'll get to that in a minute." I think it's also as far as just things that affect us differently. I think it's amazing that just what's going on in Iran and the Gulf of the Hormuz is, many people said we're going to be at this deadline right around the 8th of July, and you know the
What
corporate,
deadline?
huh,
What deadline?
that we're going to run out of oil,
Oh,
and um and that the Strait of Hormuz wasn't open freely. As a, because I follow an energy expert, and I want to keep this in the sense of what it means to Black folks. Um, these big oil containers you see have pumps at the bottom of them, and they can't get to a certain level, whereas the pumps will start getting clogged up. But I think it's been mighty quiet about what's happening with this negotiation, because they don't want people to understand that, and we don't pay attention to it anyway, as if gas doesn't won't affect us the most anyway. So when you say, what does it mean to Black folks? Hell, what does anything mean to Black folks at this stage of the game? What, you know, right now it's family reunion time. I would venture to say, how you gonna damn go celebrate a family reunion? Your buying power is not the same. Um, so I can't tell you what, because I don't know what means. I really don't know what anything means to African Americans from what I see right now. I just can't see it. Like I said, me and Marion talk about it all the time. I just don't get the feeling that there's a sense of urgency on this 4th of July when they literally gutted the 1965 Civil Rights Act, which allowed them to go after the 13th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment. I don't see the sense of urgency. I don't see the other day I think and then I'm gonna end it with this, let you come in, land this plane. They just published that the FBI sent like 100 extra FBI agents into Atlanta to talk about the 2020 election in Fulton County. Uh, the optics of that. I don't even know if a lot of Black people even know that. And the optics should be from the city and the county. Yeah, you can send them in here, but we're going to have this fun, and we're going to spend this money on the best law firms that want to fight this. It needs to be out there in public, because Black people are show me type people. They need to see optics. They need to see people fighting for them. So I don't know. I don't know what the 4th of July means to Black folks, because I don't know what anything means to Black folks anymore. I don't know if Black folks have anything that they're willing to die on. What hill are they willing to die on? Um, I just don't know what it is. So to answer your question, I don't get the feeling that's a whole bunch of shit that means anything to any Black folks, and I mean that sincerely, because I can't see it. I don't see it. If somebody else, you can give me an example. I don't see it.
you'd love to paint a portrait of gloom and doom. There's no optimism in anything that you say lately.
And no, okay, but
And
let me
I mean, I understand the point that you're making. I understand the point that you're making, but it ain't. The thing is this. I
I don't think you have the stuff. Let me say this. I don't think you. I think that I've been to quite a few things. And there's something brewing up here right now, where you have former mayors trying to get stuff together. And you got to remember, I'm in the metropolis right now that I absolutely consider ground zero for Black folks. I really believe that. And listen to some of the former mayors who know inside ballers. I've listened to them, and they believe that. And so, do I have hope? Yes, I do have hope. Am I tired of us always doing stuff at the last minute? Yeah, I'm tired of us doing stuff at the last minute. Do I believe that Keisha Lance Madam has a unique opportunity to steal an election? Absolutely, I believe that you have an opportunity to do this once in a lifetime thing. But I also know what it's going to take. I also know what it's geared up it's going to take, and I also know that I don't. I really don't get into. I don't. I don't want um, moral victories per se anymore. Like, I want policy victories. So, and
and I'll say that the 14th Amendment,
go ahead.
the Supreme Court decision on the 14th Amendment, people were celebrating that as if the Supreme Court did something great. The Supreme Court followed the Constitution, period. They didn't do it. That case, to be quite honest, and I don't know if I said this. I know I've said it. I can't remember if I said it on here. That case should have never even been taken up. There's no way. I mean, you have to. This is an amendment to the Constitution. You can't executive order away an amendment to the Constitution. And we know Trump is trying to do this. We know for a fact that Trump, since he's been in office, he's signed thousands of executive orders and executive memos and all this and all that. And he's throwing stuff up against the wall to see what sticks. And more often than not, those dumbasses in the Supreme Court support his bullshit. Specifically, the ones I'm talking about the most are Clarence Thomas. That punk motherfucker will support Trump. If Trump shitted on him right now, he would still sit there and take it and support that bullshit. That's how much. And the reason why I and Alito is the same way, but the reason why I specifically point out Clarence Thomas is his hypocrisy on all of these issues.
But we know that already.
Ridiculous. I know. But what I'm saying is people were celebrating the Supreme Court like they did this, that came up with this very great decision. They didn't have a choice. If these people, and like I said, the hypocrisy of not Donald Trump, Alito and Thomas, the most, is they're considering themselves constitutionalists. And in case y'all don't know what a constitutionalist is, it's somebody who believes that the way the Constitution is written, that's what the founders intended. When the guys who wrote the Constitution and the amendments, the way they intended, that's the way we should rule. That's the way the rule of law should be, the way they intended. We should be, we have to interpret it to incorporate what's going on now, but we're going to stick that original definition of all of this stuff. What they wrote is what they meant.
But the reason, wait. We can get into the minutia. You just said I'm doom and gloom, but here's the thing: we could get into the minutia of what they're doing, and nothing that you said is not true. But the truth of the matter is, there's been no shots over anybody's bow. And when I say shots over their bow, when the South Korean president decided that he was going to damage democracy, the citizens revolted in the streets. And we're out there for weeks, until he had to step down. Now he's doing life in prison because they didn't give him the death penalty. In Albania right now, they have been protesting for weeks.
But Leonard,
About
I've said this before.
Clarence Thomas does this. The Supreme Court does what they do because the only thing that will stop people from doing what they do is a citizenry that says, we will come and get you in the middle of the night if you try to take
okay.
And we don't.
So
they got it
in. It's twofold. It's twofold. One, people in the street protesting, that peaceful protest and all that.
It ain't been peaceful.
No, in those countries, yes, they have. There have been no. It's been peaceful on the citizens' part, not on the government part. Let's be clear. The government is cracking down on that. People are just marching. Now, here in the United States, they have marches for months and months and months and months.
No, they don't.
Last year,
wait,
they did.
What?
They did. Hold up. So you trying to tell me all those No Kings March and all? And you participated?
No. The biggest criticism. Have you been to a No Kings March? Have you been to one? Okay, let me tell you how it works. I've been to one. I've been to 3. Let me tell you what the criticism of the No Kings March is. They know the strategy. You all are going to come out for a Saturday. You're going to bring a lot of people for a Saturday, but you aren't going to do it sustainable for a week or 2 or 3 weeks. You're not going to shut shit down. So they let you get out and get it out your system. Now go to South Korea.
Let me ask you this. When did they do that? When did that ever happen in the United States?
That's the point, Kenneth. That's the point.
Okay, you want to shut shit down.
That's the point.
You want to shut shit down. Those
Is that
countries,
not the point?
the,
Is
hold on,
that not
the countries that the countries
is that,
that you're talking about are a whole lot smaller than the United States. A whole
that,
lot smaller.
look, let's be clear about
Tremendously small.
something. You can't,
Albania can fit in Georgia.
no, no, stop.
It is.
No, stop.
It is.
No, wait a minute. Minneapolis, people in Minnesotans got in the streets for at least up 2 months every day in sub-zero freezing temperatures to chase ICE out of that city. They lost
Okay.
two
That
people.
was to chase ICE out of a city.
They lost 2 people. Kenneth, that's the point. You are proving my point. You do realize that, right? Which is
No,
you
I'm
have,
not.
I'm
You,
about to tell you,
I'm contradicting your point.
my guy, listen to the point, because you must be missing it. You have to have the will. You ask me why I'm doom and gloom, give me my answer. You have to have the will. You have to get out of your seats of comfortableness. You have to stop talking shit on Facebook. You have to do the things that you do, because you and I have talked about this time and time again. I just had this conversation with a developer friend of mine who I literally said, at what point are you going to get to the point where you go, that won't happen? It's happening. If you don't have the will, and you're relying and you're hoping that the midterms will do it, because the DSAs, who they getting, the Democrat socialists, are killing it because they're doing it. They're speaking out. They're showing the
out, but they haven't led any marches. They're not leading any marches.
Bullshit.
What march did they lead? What march did Mondami lead?
What have you been reading, my guy? What do you
No.
think
Hold on. You're saying we need to get into the streets. When did Mondami get into the streets?
Do you want to answer?
Yeah.
The people who won in New York, the 3 candidates that he had who won in New York, were actually people who were in the we're not sending bombs to Gaza marches. They were there from the front.
But Leonard,
you got to bro.
The model that you're talking about. Mondami did not participate in marches like that, lead any marches like that. He didn't. He just went to the people and told them, listen, this is what I want to do, and he's been effective. The reason why those people who won, and one of them did not participate in that. He was not one of those people who participated in any marches like that. The one that beat the one that was the well, he did do something. He did get arrested for he was a controller, the city controller, and he got arrested trying to stop ICE from arresting somebody at a federal facility or something like that. But the point I'm trying to make with Mondami won because he came up with fresh ideas, and his fresh ideas, so far, he's delivered on a lot of them, on some of them. And those other people that he endorsed won not because they were in the streets. They won because Mondami endorsed him, and they said we're going to take his stuff, what he's saying. We're going to take that level of commitment to the community for New York to Washington. The people that they beat were Democrats. They weren't one of them was a moderate, but a couple of them were actually considered quote unquote liberal. They just didn't go far enough. And that's the way. The same thing on the Republican side. You have Republicans who supported Donald Trump 99% of the time. And they lost to somebody that said, I'm going to support him 100% of the time. So it's not the thing about protest. It's the thing about somebody trying to deliver for what you believe in. And that's why Mondami won. It had nothing to do with protest. It had something, all the things to do with he said the right thing and talked to the right people enough. Where people was like, I am tired of, the extreme, he was going against Eric Adams. That right there is, people didn't like Eric Adams. He's a big disappointment, actually. Huge disappointment. He disappointed me, and I don't even live in New York anymore.
Let me ask this. We're just not talking. So what's your strategy? What is your strategy? Let's not just bullshit one another. What is your strategy so people can hear for us to get out of this mud that we find ourselves mired in for lack of participation? Because Marion's, if he's on the call today, Marion has always been, it ain't been enough pain. People are gonna move when they hurt worse. So at what point do we, since you started off the conversation as what does 4th of July mean to Black folks, which pain is going to cause the stimulus for Black folks to get off their ass and do what the fuck they need to do? Because if you ask
Wait,
me,
really? Hold on. I'm gonna go back to my. Okay, go ahead.
No. Let me finish because I want to say something that I agree with you on. You and I agree on this. In order for us to find ourselves not mired in this, and I know you're going to agree on this, we have both said we got to be somewhere in the 60 to 70% range of voting for all registered Black voters. We agree on that, right? Don't we agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how much pain do we need to have, and what do you think will cause the pain to get us out of the 29% percentile to the 70% percentile that you and I both agree we have to have to control our destiny? That's what I'm asking. What do you think is going to cause it? Go ahead.
So, going back to what I was saying, then I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
Remember, we always talk about the civil rights movement and what we how we were quote unquote en masse, even though it wasn't every Black person involved in that. Matter of fact, it was only a small percentage of our people involved in the civil rights movement and marching and things of that nature. But America was shamed into getting the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. They were shamed into it. This administration, the people who run the government, they have no damn shame. We can't shame them into doing stuff. We cannot shame them. So the marching aspect of it is futile because we are basically they're not going to be moved by it.
Okay. So
the only thing that moved now the thing in Minneapolis, the death of those two people, the unfortunate death, that's what did it. So it wasn't the marching, it was the death. And they couldn't justify, okay, you just killed two unarmed American citizens.
So we need somebody
to had it on video.
So we need somebody to die?
Huh?
You need
no, what I'm saying, that's what got them to leave Minneapolis. Now, hopefully nobody else dies over this. Hopefully nobody else dies. But the marching aspect ain't it no more. Because it can't be shamed. It cannot be shamed. Now, the other part of what you're saying, and Brother Macmillan just asked me, what is my strategy? We need to, as you just said, talking about getting the 60 to 7% range. And I'm thinking more like 70 to 80, to be quite honest.
Can I throw a tip?
Let me say this.
That was not before you leave that. I want to throw a tidbit in there.
Okay.
In 1965 to 1970, Black voter participation was 75%.
Okay, right.
75%. Which 75%. And they moved. I always say this, and because that moves the needle. You said it, Marion said it, I've said it. I don't know if Stacey said it. If you go and look at the numbers, and because I don't want you to lose that point, I want you to stay on that point. When you go and look at just the PSC special election, 1.7 million registered African American voters in the state of Georgia did not fucking vote. So my question to you is, if we carry our own destiny, and Roland says this, Marion will tell you, Roland says this ad nauseum, because the question was, what does the 4th of July mean to Black folks? That's how you started off the show. Mm-hmm. What I'm asking you, since you have now claimed that what I see working in Albania, South Korea, other countries, Poland, what was that? Budapest, Hungary. If what is it going to take for you to get me out of doom and gloom? Because I'm just looking at the numbers to get Black folks, as Marion would say, what is the pain stimulus to get Black folks to say, under all circumstances, all costs, we have to vote or we will find ourselves mired in this position past your lifetime, my lifetime, into my grandchildren's lifetime, and stop talking about this bullshit. That's all I want to know. I can get on with any strategy.
You ask it, Leonard. I don't know because I don't have that mindset. You asking me to think about what it would take for somebody to do that, and who's not active to become active. I don't fucking know, and that's my point. I don't. That's one of the things I'm saying. I don't know what it takes because I don't have that mindset. I really don't. I've never had that mindset. Voting has always meant a lot to me.
Stacey, Mary, what you think? What do y'all think is going to take? You've been doom and gloom for the last couple of months. That's what I'm saying is.
What I'm saying is, we just need to do the rest of us need to do the best we can. Do what we can, and we can't. If we do what we can change some hearts and minds.
I'm gonna tell you.
We have to have a level of commitment.
Is Cal here? Is Cal on here today? Because I can't see who's on the call. Is Cal Burlock on here today? Okay, so
he's not having commented, so I don't know.
Cal is a Morehouse brother, and I'm on a black page of Morehouse graduates, older people who. So when the what was that 3 weeks ago? What we were in the boycott the Asian thing, right? Why did we do that? We did that for what reason? The killing in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And when people came out and said, this is what we need to do, we had people on the page who were graduates of HBCU saying, no, we shouldn't do that because my experience is this, and that with them. I've had a good experience with them, which I would be the first to tell people. As somebody who I really, really care, who called me today and said, hey, man, can you come to here and help me out, blah, 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 who's Asian, I would go. But on a totality level, he's one person. One. When you don't send a message to people to stop fucking with you, that's what they do.
But you know something? You know something that in reference to what you're saying? That the threat of that boycott did a lot. Because you saw the guy, I don't know if you ever saw the video, this Asian guy, and I don't even know if it was AI.
I don't
if it was an actual person.
You're right. I don't know if it was AI. I agree with you.
But he was saying that, y'all need us, blah, 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 all this and all that. And the reaction behind that, because people was talking about the initial thing of people talking about boycotting wasn't really taking off as much. But when that video hit, everybody was like, oh, hell no. Okay, we're going to show and prove. And you had a lot of people in the Asian community come out and say, no, that's not us. We don't agree with him, blah, blah, blah. We get along with the people. And I'll say this too. It's one of those things, like when you said people were talking about boycotting Walmart, and you said that's the only grocery store in Vine City, near Vine City, that Walmart over there by Clark.
Mm.
And you're saying that I'm torn between that. A lot of people were torn between. It's something funny. I sent a message out to a text message out to my cousins and to a friend of mine here in Augusta, and I asked them. I said, "Is there a black-owned nail salon here?" I saw something on Facebook one time. It caught my attention. I was like, "All right, cool." And this was after the people were talking about boycotting Asian businesses. I was like, you know what? If I can find an African American nail salon and go get my feet done and all that, I'll support them. And one reason is because the last two I've been to nail salons, they cut my foot, and that pisses me off. One of them cut my foot so bad it was bleeding, and she hurried up and put my sock on, and I didn't realize it till I got home that my foot was bleeding. I just know she hurt. I felt her, something there, but I didn't know my foot was bleeding. So I'm like, okay, those two places there, I can't go back to them. So I'm trying to let me find an African American one, support the business and all that. Not necessarily boycott Asian businesses, but let me give some black woman a shot because that's the one that's in Augusta's black owned by a black woman, but I cannot remember where it is or the name of it. I wish if somebody's listening, they know what I'm talking about. Please let me know because I really want to give it a try. But anyway, it's a thing of a lot of them are intertwined in our community. I remember growing up on Mercer Street on Old Savannah Road, which is now MLK. There was a store owned by an Asian man. His name was Tom Wong. And man treated, as far as I know, he treated all of us right. I never had a problem with him. He never said anything bad to me. He was all about the I don't know if he put any money in the community. I was a little kid, so I don't really know. But I never felt disrespected in there. And nobody else ever said anything about him disrespecting them in that community. And he was there for years until I don't know when he moved, but he was that store was in there for the years. So we have certain places we have personal relationship with the people who own those places, and it's a positive thing. But the threat of that boycott, just the threat of it, not the actual boycott, because it really didn't take his effect like, I guess we thought it would or people hoped it would. But the threat of it got a lot of people in the Asian community to come out and say, that's not how we are. That right there, that's not who we are. And the guy who, whoever put the post up, like I said, I don't know if it was AI or if it was an actual, whoever put that post up, they deleted that post. The guy whose page it was, Instagram it was, he deleted it. Matter of fact, I think he closed his account. I don't know. The threat of that boycott had the necessary effect. We'll see in the long run whether or not it actually worked. Just the threat, not the actual boycott, just the threat of it.
See, but that's the difference. That's the difference between what you say and what other people do. And it's two key things that I want to point out that you said. Number one, I appreciate you saying, I don't know, because I think that's our honest answer. And number two, I think what you say is they're intertwined in our neighborhoods. Absolutely. You know why they're intertwined in our neighborhoods? Because we welcome them. But we aren't intertwined. We're not intertwined in them. Let me tell you all for you don't know, in my position as the chairman of my neighborhood, when people come and talk to me now, and when I tell you the neighborhood right now is consequential because it's really the last neighborhood in Atlanta hadn't developed. So of course, when you're the last neighborhood, everybody wants to come and develop in the neighborhood. And so one of the things when they come to me now that I'm very, very have a visceral reaction to, and I don't play about it, I tell them, and my developers who are here now, who call me and talk to me and say, can you get behind this project? One of the things I tell them all the time is, I don't want to hear that shit if you don't have a robust on-the-site job training program. I want to hear it because I can go in my neighborhood right now on Broadway, and there's 6 developments being rolled up. And as I tell them, just on Broadway, and as I tell them all the time, you are going to catch hell with me if I go on every one of those sites and I don't see any, except for the two brothers building a site over there doing a very good job, who have the only African-American crews on the fucking street. That's a whole ecosystem, as I tell them. And you've been extracting now for years with that thing of, I can't find African-American vendors and builders and plumbers and HVAC. And I tell them bullshit. And I don't pull punches. You don't want me to be in your ass? Don't let me see people who look like me just sweeping the streets. You can't find the bodies, we'll go to Atlanta Area Tech where they're from the community. If they Black at Atlanta Area Tech, they're part of my broader community. I go up the street to this little damn you seen it, the little wing place in the Walmart shop. You've been there, you were at Clark when he was there. Clark Students, is owned by a Chinese guy. Clark Students spend so much money in there. And I have gone in there and said,
where's that place again?
BTJs, Back to Jesus. That's what they call it, BTJs. And he might have 2 Black employees in there. But I can go in.
The place in the plaza, the Walmart plaza? Okay.
Yeah. And here's how I know you're going to relate to this. I know you can relate now because of the conversation I had 2 weeks ago. When you walk in there as a business person, Marion can understand this too. What you do is you look and you go, for me, every time I'm in there, I look around, I see how many people are in the store. If it's 20 people in the store, I say to myself, each one of those people are spending an average of $30 a pop. He's at $600 already in sales. I know he has a break-even number every day. So on Fridays and Saturdays, when I know he's getting at least 150 to 250 orders, he's somewhere around $2,000, $3,000 a fucking pop. And you don't know none of your customers' names? You aren't intertwined in the neighborhood. I don't know if you're giving anything back to Hollis Elementary. You're not intertwined in the neighborhood. You just extracting. And you got the wrong nigga.
You know what? You're right.
Who will come in and say, hey man, can I get a donation to Hollis? Because I know Walmart donates. I know that for a fact. And that is the level of intentionality we need. So we have been, and I will die on this hill, with any minority group in the fucking country. I will say it on national TV. I will say it to their face because I got the numbers to prove it. The most welcoming minority in the history of the country to all minorities. You get your start over here because we're welcoming in spite of our cultural problems and some of the stuff we got to deal with. We're trying to tamp down on. We all know that's the case. But if you don't like us, stop doing business with us. We don't need you. We have proven time and time again that we could be I just posted something the other day from an old FDA film that they thought they were doing some propaganda that disproved what they were doing, which is a whole Black community scanning system to look at the Black communities. You don't have to do business with us. Trust me, we can get by without you. You need us. So fucking act like it. And what we need to do is when they decide to do those things, be intentional. No disrespect to what you just said. Black pedicures, I need to know her address, blah, 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 blah. She needs to be sold out before anybody goes anywhere else. We can't bend over any more backwards than we have for people. So when you ask me what this 4th of July means to me, and what it means is, it's not doom and gloom. It's what part do I play to get us back to a percentage that controls our destiny, which is always over 50%. And I just haven't seen that yet. That's all I'm saying. I just haven't seen the intentionality of the community yet. I know the people that's in the field, but if you talk to them, they tell you, man, I don't know. I'm getting a little scared here. And I don't know what else it's going to take. That's all I'm saying, besides 100,000 Black women losing their jobs in the last 2 years. All these Black men that don't like women, that don't want to do what they're supposed to do. So I'm not without hope, as Cal Burlick would say, but I can't ignore what I see, like Marion would say. How much pain do we have to have? God damn.
I like I said, I don't know. I don't know what it takes. I really don't know. And I wish I did know what it takes for us to get out in numbers. I just know the rest of us, those of us who are conscious and looking for a change and demanding a change, we need to be out in those streets just talking to people. Being on on the street corner, in the malls and the outlet malls, the Walmart, the wherever, just being out there in churches. We have to be intentional about what we do and talking to people about voting and negate the myths that are out there. That's what we need to do. We just can't sit there and we can't sit back and expect them to feel like, okay, now I participate. We got to force them to. And Angie, it's funny because there used to be one years ago. I actually thought about trying to work with them years ago when I first got out of grad school. And I can't think of the name of it, but it's based out of Washington, D.C. It was a Black think tank. And they were actually did a lot. But I can't think of the name of that organization and whether or not they still exist. But it was very good. They did a lot of research and put it out there. And sort of, Brother Marion just said that Shannon Sharp knows what motivates us. And I will say this, and we are part of the larger society that we are caught up into this social media thing, which is kind of ironic. We talk bad about social media, but we're literally broadcasting over a social media platform right now. But we keep talking about how social media is bringing down our country, and Black people are not. We can see it in our own community. I see it in the classroom all the time. How social media is the biggest problem that our kids have. It guides everything that they do. So what we should be doing is flooding people's, as much as possible, flooding people's things with information about voting. Now, I'll say this. We have to break through the minutia, all the idiotic stuff that people have a tendency to see. That new TikTok dance. Maybe we could do a TikTok dance. One thing I saw that Keisha Lance Bottoms done, which I thought was pretty good. She did a few things on TikTok with her daughter, dances on with her daughter. And that wasn't something just for entertainment. What she was doing was breaking through that minutia. If you have she's doing a TikTok dance, so that means anybody who looks at the video and they share the video, it's going to be out there, and the more people see it, the more people can relate to her. Now, she didn't say during the TikTok dance, she didn't say anything about running for governor, anything like that. She was just doing a TikTok dance with her daughter. That's all she did. And Black people love a good TikTok dance. Our kids love a good TikTok dance. They love it. They see a new TikTok dance, they try it. They sitting there. I've seen girls in the hallway at Glen Hills put the phone on the floor and start doing the TikTok dance in the middle of the hallway, just doing it. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Oh, we just doing the dance, just doing the TikTok dance. That's a very good idea that Keisha Lance Bottoms did. Now, I don't know if that's from her personally or her social media team told her she should do it, but what it does is getting her out there. You remember when Bill Clinton ran for president, and he did one of the smartest things he could ever do to run when I was running for president. He went on the Arsenio Hall show and he played the saxophone. That's all he did. Then he did an interview with Arsenio Hall. All of a sudden, Bill Clinton was the first Black president. They were calling him, he was one of us. Yes, you were born. Don't he act like that?
Who said that?
Angie, tell me, was I born yet? I was born yet. I'll try to figure out if you were around. Yes, you were around at that time. A grown woman, as a matter of fact. Anyway, he did that, and Black people to the point where I don't know if you noticed, that Bill Clinton is a Sigma? Did you know that?
Didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a member of Phi Beta Sigma. They made him honorary member probably about 20 years ago. So that garnered the attention of Black people. That was before social media. It's like, oh, he's cool. All that man did was play the saxophone with on the Arsenio Hall show with with a pair of shades on. I don't even remember the song he played, but I remember what he did. And then he did the interview with Arsenio Hall. And then it started coming out that, you know, he grew up around Black people. He was cool with Black people. He grew up around Black people. So Keisha Lance Bottoms doing a TikTok video was a smart move. And I hope she does more.
Yeah, but Ricky Jackson go to a barbershop.
Oh,
but he won't go to the right barbershops. Like, I bet you go to Marion's barbershop and talk that shit so that Marion can ask him them tough questions. So he'll go around with Shelley Winters, fuck him too. And
who the hell is Shelley Winters?
Shelley Winters, this talk show host in Atlanta from New York, who came down here because, you know, he couldn't make it in New York, and now he came down to Black conservative. And the funny thing about it is, two sisters on Spelman were defending him, and I basically got on there and cowed and said, fuck him and fuck his whole platform. You're not going to talk to me. No one's going to talk to me about damn politics if you're Black. If you didn't come out and you didn't have a strong stance against them gutting the 64 Civil Rights Act, that's the least you can do. If you haven't done that, that's the line in the sand for me. The least you can do, that's the only thing you and I got in common. Policy-wise, is you should never want that act to go in there. You should not want it damn gutted. You shouldn't want the enforcement policy gutted, which they did in 2013. So if Ricky Jackson will go to these places, and these Negroes will give him soft pitch because they want to be around a billionaire. But these same Negroes will talk about Keisha Lance Bottoms. What did she do? Y'all non-liking,
that shit is crazy to me.
Y'all non-liking women, Black women, some punks. They just some punks. They don't like women. They particularly don't like Black women. And you don't have enough Black men like me to call them on their shit. You don't like women. You particularly don't like Black women. Period. You don't. You think Black women are objects. So you come up that bullshit, but this man got 2 cases where his company has been fined for human trafficking. And you ain't got enough brothers to call brothers out on it. The fuck out of here.
And see, that's the thing. And also, they said, well, somebody, I saw some, well, Keisha Lance Bottoms has been to Black. It's like, yes, she has. She has been to Black barbershops. I mean, and she goes all over. They tell me, well, she needs to go to other parts of the state. She was just in Warner Robins right before they said that. She literally said she was at a Buc-ee's in Warner Robins, as a matter of fact. She said, and she was on, she went live on Instagram and said, I am at Buc-ee's in Warner Robins, and I can't go to Buc-ee's and not get something for my family. I texted my family. What she said? I texted my family and said, I'm at Buc-ee's. What do y'all want? And everybody sent her a list of what they wanted. And she said, she ironically said, if I text them something else, they don't care. But as soon as I go to Buc-ee's, they want something. They respond. And then some fool gonna say, oh, she don't go outside of Atlanta. She's literally in Warner Robins, live. And then somebody comes with that bullshit. She ain't there. She ain't there. She didn't do this. She didn't do that. They always do that shit. They always do. And I'll say this too. They expect the max from a Black candidate, but accept the very bare minimum from a white candidate. They will do that. You have these people in our community who will expect, like, I said, this shit pissed me off. Some woman was on there talking about Barack Obama said he admired, he said, despite George Washington being a slave owner, he admired him for what he did as president. And I said, 2 things can be right at the same time.
They sure can. Because he did something, George Washington did something really, really huge that you can't take away from him. They asked George Washington to essentially be a king. And he said no. He said no. He could have changed the trajectory of this country for
Mm-hmm.
the lifetime of this country if he had agreed to what those rich landowners wanted him to do, which was essentially be a king. And he said no. So it's two
And
things
also, too,
at the same
there's
time.
something else. George Washington, his farewell address. And I think that's one of the biggest, one of the best things, the biggest things he did. He said the downfall of this country is going to be political parties. He said two things we don't need to do. We don't need to have political parties, and we don't need to get involved in other countries' affairs. And what's the two things that we've done that's fucked this country up? Political parties and get involved in other countries' affairs. That's what he has said. Those are two things that he said when he was leaving office. He said we should not get involved in other countries' affairs, and we should not have political parties. And look where we are now. Look where we are now. That, and like I said, when Barack Obama said, and also it's funny, Barack Obama is a distant relative of George Washington. They found that out through some type of DNA thing or something like that. But he said that he admired him. And people jumping on Barack Obama for that. I'm like, really? All the shit that he did for black people. All the shit he did for black people. And one other thing about George Washington, he also freed the people who were that he enslaved. He freed them upon his death.
He didn't free Martha's sister though.
Martha says, you talking about George Washington? I mean, not George. Thomas
George
Jefferson.
Washington did not free Martha's half sister.
Okay, I don't know about her. I just know Thomas Jefferson's half sister, who was Sally Hemings, who was also Thomas Jefferson's baby mama. Yeah, he had several kids by her. So I don't know about Martha Washington.
Yeah, George Washington freed everybody, but and he provided for him, but he didn't free her half sister. That's it. But here's the question comes back down to, so what does the 4th of July mean? And that's what I'm trying to say. It's not that I want to be doom and gloom. It's just that if you're gonna have these honest conversations, let's have them. If you're gonna, if it's one of the reasons why when people say existential has now become some watered down term, because existential means just that, existential, and it means that, hey, this is imminent. This could change change the trajectory of how you live your life and your kids and your grandkids. And if it's TikTok dances that I got to get people out, man, I'll make TikTok videos. If it's as I told my wife the other day, hey, give me Helen Baker's organization. I told Marion this, where does she need me to go to register voters? I'll start taking off my Sundays to go register voters in Warner Robins, Thomasville, whatever I got to do. Then, I'm gonna make this sacrifice. I'll get up in hotel room, some dirty. What do we got to do? Because one of the things that Sherilyn Ifill said at the last thing was that people in Atlanta don't understand how good they have it and how deep their bench is, and that folks outside of Atlanta need to see Atlanta's out there showing them that we see you. That we see you and we're coming to help register you, because that's what happens to rural black folks. And the truth of the matter is, it's like Louisiana. Louisiana came out the last election. They defeated every Landry initiative that was on that ballot. And black folks voted in higher numbers than they did previously, but it still wasn't over 30%. It was 30%.
Well, and I'll say this: we know what the formula is. We know what percentage we need to change things. We know. We just got to get people out, because people have been disillusioned. They in 2016, Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes than Donald Trump, and she lost because of the Electoral College. And people became disillusioned with that. And then when Joe Biden came in, he won the popular vote and the Electoral College vote.
They wanted to change the rule.
Right. And then all of a sudden, one thing I say this: the Democratic Party allows the Republican Party to paint the narrative. They were sitting here telling everybody that that Joe Biden's his initiatives weren't working for the people of America, this and that, and he did this and he did that. You know, even talking about how solar energy and wind power, which is something that he it came out about in his infrastructure bill, was damaging the environment. Now, how is solar power and wind power damaging the environment? How is that hurting? That's causing your electricity bill to go down. It should anyway. Then they're talking about, well, he didn't do anything for the country. I was, like I told you, well, y'all don't know. Last week I was in Detroit for the funeral of one of my friends from college, from Tuskegee. And one of the things that I missed my flight coming back to Atlanta because of all the construction going on in Detroit, like road construction everywhere. Matter of fact, when my boy picked me up from the airport on Friday morning, he's like, man, there's construction everywhere. He said, man, it's going to take us a minute. He says, normally a 15, 20-minute drive. He says, it's going to take about 30, 40 minutes to get to your hotel in Southfield. I was like, seriously? Traffic, just traffic everywhere. On the morning when I was supposed to be flying back, I missed my flight because of the traffic. And I told my boy, I said, it's crazy. People come here, he said, man, this construction, they're doing construction everywhere. It's just ridiculous. I said, you know what that is, right? He's like, what? I said, that's that buying infrastructure money. That's what that is. He said, yeah, our roads are terrible up here in Michigan. They're finally doing something about it. I think that's where it's coming from. All the construction going on. If you look at in downtown Augusta, they tore the streets and they're supposed to be making more parking spaces or whatever they're doing downtown. And we complain. I know I'm complaining about really truly how long it's taking to do it. But that money that the city of Augusta got came from buying the infrastructure bill. And people don't realize that. We let Republicans paint the narrative that was a waste of money, but everything that's being upgraded around the country, from bridges to roads to railroads to the internet, all of that came about because of that one bill. All of it, that one bill, all of that came about because of that. When he signed that into law and Congress appropriated all that money years ago in 2022, I think it was, or 22 or 23, all of that stuff is coming up now. All of that money. States are spending money repairing roads, repairing this. The only city where I haven't seen them repair too many roads is New Orleans. Everywhere else that I've been over the last few years, they're doing roads. That's an obvious benefit of that bill. There's a lot of other subtle stuff going on, but that's an obvious benefit of it. But Democrats let Republicans paint the narrative. They let them paint the narrative. And they have to go on the offense on that. And I applaud Keisha for doing that simple TikTok video. And then turn around and going on Instagram and doing going to that Buc-ee's and Warner Robins, meeting people, shaking people's hands while she's in there. But going in there and just say, I'm at Buc-ee's and Warner Robins. That's all she said. Took a couple of pictures of shaking hands with people, walked out and said, I got the stuff my family needed. Now I'm going to keep going on down to Warner Robins, in the city of Warner Robins, and meet some people down there. That's what she said. And she needs to do that all day, every day. All day, every day. Every day she needs to be somewhere as much as possible. Not just going to churches on Sunday in Atlanta, not just doing events in Atlanta, everywhere else too. And I sent some money to Keisha the other day. Hopefully I get a sign from them soon, put it in the yard, get my t-shirt. And if I can't find a t-shirt from her, I'll get one made. I don't care. I'm going to be advertising for it. I'm going to do it. And we all need to do that. If you care about not having a racist run our country, or I should say run our state again, remember what I said, again, because it ain't worked out too well for the last few times we had racists running our state. Then you need to vote for Keisha and work hard to get Keisha in there. Yeah, Stacey, more cell phone towers in rural areas. That's a big thing. High speed internet. Those are big things in rural areas. And Democrats need to start talking about that. They can't sit back and just let them control the narrative. Or Donald Trump say, I'm the one who did that. And he ain't do a goddamn thing. We need to do that. That's something that we need to do. And we need to tell people, in order for us to continue to get this, to combat this craziness we have, to help to bring down these prices in the state, in the country, and all that, we need to elect new members of the House, get those Republicans out of there, and elect Democratic leaders in all the states and in the state legislature too. Have candidates run in those areas, those rural areas that, as they say, ruby red, because despite what people say, some of those Republicans are getting mad. They're getting mad. They're upset. And they're either not going to vote or they may vote for some Democrats. You don't know. All right. So, man, it's after 11 o'clock. It's 11:12. I got to go get ready for my Tuskegee cookout today. One thing I do want to say is, like I said, I was in the funeral, went to a funeral, a friend of mine from Tuskegee last week. And I got to give some love to that brother. He's one of the first friends I made when I went to Tuskegee in 1984. So 42 years ago, in August, we would have been friends. A true tribute to him as a man was, one, the amount of people who attended his funeral, his memorial service. That church was full. They had an overflow room of not only people, family, but friends, fraternity brothers. He was a baseball coach. His former students, he's a teacher and a baseball. His former students, former players, people he worked with, all of that just filled that church up. And I was like, that's a true testament. And also the fact that, and his name was Darren Mosley. I want to say that the tributes that his wife made on Facebook to him, talking about their journey together, when she met them, the different things that they did. And as I read this, and I told her this too, I said, we should all have somebody in our life that loves us that much. We should all have somebody in our lives that loves us that much as she loved him. And we should all try to be as loved as he was by the community at large. That's that. I mean, man, when I said so many people showed love for this dude, you would think he was a celebrity. And we should all want to be that type of person that's loved like that. We should all be that, try to be that person. I know we all can't be, but we should all try to impact other people's lives to the point where when we're gone, they celebrate us like that. So having said that, y'all enjoy Tuskegee Founders Day. Even those of you who did not go to Tuskegee, those of you who are like Leonard who were not fortunate enough to go to Tuskegee, celebrate Tuskegee's Founders Day, July 4th, 1881. That's what y'all want. If you have a cookout, don't make it about the founding of this country. Make it about the founding of Tuskegee University.
I'm going to end it by saying I'm a Booker T. Washington fan. Always have been since I read Up From Slavery. It's one of the most consequential autobiographies I ever read. I also want to say a couple of tidbits. On Tuesday, we have Argentina versus Egypt coming to the Dome. And Argentina, by far, is one of the most racist countries in the Western Hemisphere. And I will hope that this city full of Black folks will show up down at the fan festival for all those Argentinian fans. Let them know this is a Black city that they've been hosted in. that put on this show, that put on this venue. Because as I heard some woman say, which is wild, I didn't get to say this last week, as Colette and I went down just to get an idea of the atmosphere down there. This white woman walked by with her son and two sons and husband and said, "I'm really surprised by this city. It's absolutely beautiful. I thought it was going to be more urban." She said it out loud before she caught us, our eyes looking at her going like, "Well, what the hell did you expect it to be?" And that AT aliens and people who will come out in full force and be on their best behavior to let them know where they are. I think it is high time that we become unapologetically Black.
Yeah.
And that we start acting like we've never done anything to these folks, but been welcoming, and don't shy from it. Don't shy from what we've done for people economically and how welcoming we've been, how much we patronize their business. I always say this to people. If y'all really want to get an idea of how welcoming Black folks are and how it's not reciprocated, go to a Hispanic restaurant, go to a Chinese restaurant, go to an Italian restaurant, go to any minorities restaurants, you're going to see Black folks patronizing. Then take your ass right over and go to Big Daddy's or Busy Bees and see how many other minorities you see at those restaurants. And don't tell me Black folks can't cook. That should be your litmus test for what we do for other people. And I'm not going to be walking around here not saying it anymore because people are uncomfortable with it. That ain't happening for me no more. And I'm not going to let African Americans get away with it who have been complicit in the shit we're going through. They need to be shamed. Shame, because shame works. I'm not being nice because niceness has not worked. It hasn't worked for Stephen A. Smith. It hasn't worked for Candace Owens. It hasn't worked for Byron Donalds. Unless there's some strategy, as I tell kids, shit, just let me know what the strategy is. It hasn't worked for some of these influencers because we haven't jumped into their shit and ostracized them and said there is a consequence to your behavior and I shouldn't be shamed about it. I'm not going to be shameful about that. Because we haven't done anything. The problems we have in our community, many of them are self-inflicted, but they're also residue of many things that people have done to us and they still doing to us for no fucking reason. That's the kicker to most of us. As Kenneth Nass says and Mary Nass says, and I'm sure Stacey said, we just want y'all to leave us the fuck alone. How simple can it be?
Yeah.
So if you're in Atlanta and you want to come show some Argentinians who will be up here in droves, they're going to be coming up from Miami and the Miami that we helped build, and you want to let them know, hey, this is what Black folk do. You're on the soul of Black folks. You're riding the tax dollars of Black folks. You're in a fucking dome that Black folks built. You're in a city with a Black mayor and Black city councilman and a Black city council head and a Black Fulton County chairman and a young one coming in at that, a Black woman. Do it proudly. And let's get to work. I'm done.
Okay. I want to tell y'all, I don't know why I didn't do this to begin with. I just called a few minutes ago. I booked my pedicure at a place in Augusta called Valura Nail Lounge. It's on Riceboro Road. So I'm gonna go over there and book it for the day. Luckily they were open. At least I hope they're opening. They're open and said it was open. I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna spend some money with them and get my feet did and all of that.
Put some lotion on them feet first before you go over there.
Oh yeah, I ain't gonna walk in there with no ashy feet, man. You know, walking on the ashy feet. I don't do like you, bro. I take care of my feet. You know, light skin when your feet ashy, they look real bad. They look worse.
I don't get pedicures, so you ain't talk about me. So
I ain't said that. I ain't saying about you getting a pedicure. I said I don't have ashy feet like you. That's what I said. I ain't saying about you getting a pedicure. I said I'm getting a pedicure. And the reason why I get it because every once in a while I like to pamper myself. I like to get my feet treated. You
I,
know,
I'm sure some days you do. So hey, but hey,
and I'm getting ready to go. You talking about family reunions? And I'm actually going to a family reunion next week, as a matter of fact.
all right,
As you said that, I'm literally going to a family reunion next week. But it's my family's been doing that for 46 years. Yeah, this will be 2026 one. The only time we haven't done it is in 2020 because of the pandemic. We canceled that. So shout out to my family and the big things that we do. But I'm gonna go get ready for my pedicure, and I think I might do a manicure too. I don't usually get manicures, but I may just get one of them too. Just get them to cut my nails down and make it look good. So listen, y'all go celebrate Tuskegee Founders Day. Those of you, even if you didn't go there, that's a good reason to celebrate. Something to celebrate. Oh, and in case y'all got my Tuskegee homecoming shirt on, so y'all see that Tuskegee homecoming.
bye, Kenneth. You said you're gonna say bye 10 minutes ago. Bye, Kenneth.
You want to start talking again and reminding me
Hello,
of stuff.
man. No,
Hey,
you lying.
y'all be safe this week. You know, enjoy yourself, and we'll see y'all next week. All right, doses.
All right. Hit the button.
I did.